Christianic C1 Review covering Las Vegas and the world. Today we have on singer and tribute artist Sharon Owens. You can currently see her weekly performing in Las Vegas at the Pegasus Theater at the Alexis Resort and Casino Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 5 p.m. as Barbra Streisand. Sharon, thanks for being on C1 Review. How are you today? It's so great to have you here.
Chris, thank you for having me. This is great.
Dressing up as Barbra Streisand, of course. So why don't you just give us the background story? How did this all happen? When did it begin?
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, I am from Florida, from St. Petersburg, and I went to the University of South Florida. And, you know, I studied voice and musical theater, and, you know, I was kind of like in the biz, you know, the singing biz. And I moved to Los Angeles after I graduated, which, you know, I always make a joke that I had a dream to be on Broadway. So I moved to Los Angeles, which who wants to move to New York? It's too cold. But, and I got a job in a dinner theater, and it was in this dinner theater that the producer asked me to sing a I don't even know if I should talk like Barbara or if I should talk like Sharon. He wanted me to sing, he touched me for the big soprano number. And I asked him if I could spoof it. And he just was like, oh, I don't know. So that was pretty much my first time that I went to a costume shop, and you know, I got the wig and I did the makeup, and I kind of over dramatized it, and you know, crossed my eyes and did all sorts of spoofing. And when the run was over, everybody said, wow, Sharon, that's really cool. You've got something here. And I said, nobody does this for a living. And they said, yeah, there's a show in Vegas called Legends in Concert. And so I made a VHS tape. That's how long ago. And Legends hired me. And from there on, I kind of just started with this career.
So tell us now, Alexis Resort and Casino, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 p.m. Tell us about the show currently in Las Vegas you're doing. I think the run at least is through December, correct?
Oh, yes. It's through December, but most definitely, in fact, already had the conversation. We're carrying on. So I'm going to stay.
That's wonderful. Can't wait to come over and see it.
I know you have to come. So the show is, I love it. Because, you know, so many times I've been in Legends shows and also the Sinatra Streisand duo, and I've worked with many Neil Diamonds, Jay White, but this is a solo Barbra, and I love it because I get to do all the hits, not just a few hits, you know. I take you through time, the 60s and then the 70s. I even sing a duet with Judy Garland. And then I kind of bring you into the Broadway time. So you are going to get to hear pretty much every Barbra song that you really want to hear.
That's great. So what do you like most? Obviously, Legends in Concert, you know, was one of the longest running shows in Las Vegas for a long time. Phenomenal show, obviously, more than 30 plus years. What do you love most about Las Vegas? You obviously have a history here.
Yes, I do. I love Las Vegas. In fact, as we were kind of talking, Chris, before, you know, we got on, I was on a reality show called Performing As in 2004.
It was 21 years ago. I was going to say 05. I remembered because I remember watching it.
05 or 04. I think it was 05, but we were filming already, you know, in 2004 we were kind of filming it, and so that's where my memory is. But that's how the Vegas appearances started. I'd already been in Legends and kind of dabbled in that, but I had not been Legends Las Vegas. I had only traveled Atlantic City and in other cities. I'd never performed in Vegas. They just took me and moved me into other cities. But it wasn't until performing when the show finished and I ranked up there and got my 20 grand, which was a lot of money back then. And a Los Angeles agent wanted to open a show here in Vegas. And that's how I got moved in 2005. And in fact, I don't know if you'll know, this is a good tidbit of information. We opened the Tuscany before the Rat Pack
is back.
So we kind of created that showroom, and it was just so early, and we really didn't have all the lights and the sound. But Bob Vanucci, who was the CEO at the Riviera, he came and saw us, and he brought us to the Riviera. So just so much good history, and I love this town. I love all the talent. And as you know, even though it's a big famous town, it's very small, and we all know each other.
It's a very small entertainment community, and everybody does know each other. So here's my question. What have the crowds been like for your new show at the Alexis Resort?
Wow. The crowds have been so wonderful. It's a small showroom, and it's very intimate. And so, they're right there. They're right at my feet, and so it's a different kind of feel. You're not going into like a big showroom where there's just a bunch of people and you don't get to really interact with the audience. But it's like old Vegas. It's like cabaret, and they can call out requests. And so I have a few songs, that I can bring out that are a little obscure, and they're so wonderful. The crowds have been so kind.
What is the easiest part of being a tribute artist for Barbra Streisand, and the hardest part?
Oh, goodness. Well, a lot of people would say, oh my goodness, the singing has got to be the hard part. But it's not. For me, I've trained my whole life, and so the singing comes very, very easy for me. I didn't have a difficult time learning her, intonation and everything. But as you can tell, I don't have a New York accent. So I had to really, really study to learn that New York accent, which, you can hear if you come see me.
So what are some of those favorite songs that you enjoy singing?
Wow. Well, I've sang these songs like every night for so long. Oh, not every night, but lots. And so I really don't have a favorite, but if I were to say, I love singing the Yentl songs.
I would think those would be some of the most challenging ones.
Yes. And that's why, it's kind of a running joke, because Yentl, not everybody has seen Yentl, but I love singing those songs. They're so beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think people obviously think of The Way We Were and The Stars Born. And of course, speaking of The Way We Were, with the recent passing of Robert Redford, can you please tell our audience and everybody who has not seen The Way We Were, why that is such an important movie in Barbara's legacy, obviously, and the song itself?
I know. I mean, my goodness. I don't know if I know too many people that haven't seen it. You know, even not Barbara fans have seen The Way We Were. But of course, the kids nowadays, you know, because of course you've got, you know, you've got A Star Is Born, which Lady Gaga redid. So some of the kids these days might have gone back and watched Barbara's, but The Way We Were in particular, just, it really was, it will be a classic. It is a classic, and each year it gets older and older. But Robert Redford, in fact, my openings, should I tell everybody this? I do open with The Way We Were. And the other night, it was so funny because there was a couple that came in just a little bit late. And so when it came to requests, there's, you know, sing The Way We Were. And everybody turned around and said, you were late, you missed it. But on the screen, we show pictures, the famous pictures with Barbara, you know, taking his hair and moving it. So when Robert Redford passed away, and it was the day of, and I was walking out on stage, and there was the screen, and I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize how moved I would be when I saw his face. So, you know, everybody needs to see that movie.
Oh, absolutely. No denying that. One of the most important movies of Barbara's legacy. So here's my question. In, you know, your more than 20 years of doing this, besides in Vegas, what are the highlights for you?
Oh, wow. Good question. You know, I always go back to a highlight of my life, and it was early in my career. But I did get an opportunity to sing in Israel, and it was for a very high up in the government or something. His daughter was getting married, and she loved Barbara, and so I was a surprise, and it was just one of my most memorable gigs because it was like, oh my goodness, they rented out an entire park, and it was outside, and everybody thought I was Barbara because they of course could have afforded Barbara, you know. But I do love singing in the symphonies when I get the opportunity. I've done about five symphonies, and just like the real Barbara, she loves to have all those musicians behind her, and I can see why.
Oh, absolutely. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the symphonies before we move on?
Gosh, well, you know, first off, you know, symphonies don't necessarily book tribute artists. So, you know, maybe nowadays they're starting to bring in like the Eagles or maybe some of the bigger shows, you know, that are more bands or something like that. But when you're a solo artist, that's not an easy gig to get. So my stepfather, John Marcellus, just passed away just recently, December 31st. And I know I actually introduced them because he was a maestro, and he taught at Eastman School of Music. And he was a very well-known trombone player all over the world. And he he was the one that actually got me into the symphonies, because he conducts, and symphony was his life. So now when I do go into the symphonies, I tribute my stepfather, because everyone remembers John. So I've just had so many wonderful opportunities, and I can't help but chuckle. The opportunities are me as Barbra, not as Sharon. But
you get to sing and do something that makes you happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, the thing is that I think what happens with a lot of tribute artists is that they want to have their own careers in show business, right? And then somewhere along the way, this ends up happening instead, but then it gives you a career forever, right? Because you can never stop doing that. So how does that feel?
Wow. There was a time in the very beginning, probably the first 5-6 years, when I was honing my career, I was honing Barbra and studying really. And I had a show in Jacksonville, wonderful theater in Jacksonville. I'm trying to remember, Alhambra. It was a dinner theater. And I was doing my show, and it was lovely. The audience was lovely. But when the show was over, I didn't realize, but an entire touring Broadway show, like half the cast had came to see me, and they were in the audience. And the lead female came up and said, "Oh my gosh, you are so lucky that you get to do this. This is amazing. You have your own show." And I said, "What are you talking about? You're touring a Broadway show. You're on Broadway." And she said, "Oh, hold it. Wait a second." She said, "Did you have to audition to get this show at this theater?" I went, "Oh, no." She goes, "Because to get this Broadway tour, I had to audition in front of a director that knows my cat's name, knows my husband's name. We went out to dinner last week." She goes, "But I still have to audition for everything, and I don't always get it." And it just stopped me in my tracks, because I realized how lucky I am that I have this career, and that I've been so blessed to do it. It just,
But you have a long resume and a long track record. So that to me also is, you didn't have to audition, but you have a track record.
I know, but it's just interesting when you say, did I always, did I want to be Sharon, and people were like, why don't you be Sharon? Why don't you do that? And I'm like, well, because that's what was bothering me in the beginning. And that's why when this girl said, "You're so lucky," and I thought to myself, I am not going to put down this career anymore, because I still am Sharon. I'm just an actor. I'm an actress, performing the same character every night. That's all.
Yeah, the thing though also is that what it comes down to at the end of the day is as you know very well also, that the performing opportunities to do this forever will always be there as long as you're able to sing. And on the other front, again, managers, agents, record labels, contracts, all these kinds of things, it's always possible, but it's a much more higher uphill climb, as you know.
That's right. I mean, Barbra's not touring anymore. I mean, she's just not out there,
You're the closest thing to it.
I don't know about that. You haven't looked at my checkbook?
Well, here's my response to you still. If anyone wants to see something Barbra Streisand related, the tribute act that is Sharon Owens is the first thing I think of. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, that's so kind of you. I really do love what I do, and it is kind of a fluke that I look like this,
Sure.
it's a fluke. It landed in my lap that I actually look and sound and can sing like her. It's just a really a blessing.
All right, so let's move forward here and talk about a couple of last things here in our last 10 minutes or so. You talk about being a world traveler. We talked about Israel a couple minutes ago. Aside from that, where have you enjoyed most being?
Oh, well, I've got to say it's Las Vegas. I really do.
Thank you.
It has to be. This is just a town where I honed this career. It allowed me to sing nightly, and not a lot of tribute artists or any kind of actors or get the opportunity to do that ever. I mean, now I'm just 3 nights a week, but before, in the earlier days, those times, I sang 6 nights a week, and I couldn't say the same things every night. I changed my dialogue, and I had to talk off the cuff, and so Vegas has a special place in my heart because it's where I really learned my craft.
Yeah, truly, you may not know this, but I have been a Facebook friend of yours probably for more than a decade also, by the way. So,
kidding me?
so because I knew who you were, and I think you were suggested years ago, but I knew exactly who you were, of course, going back to that show in 04, 05.
Right.
What has the feedback been like from Barbra's fans that have come to your show?
Wow. Well, they are Barbra fans can be, they'll come up to me and say, you know what, I am such a Barbra fan. I really didn't know if I wanted to come because I didn't want to be disappointed, and thank goodness they're not. Some of them just are like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was watching her, and I'm kind of humble in that way because I do work very hard at what I do, and I know that I can really nail it, but in reality, oh my gosh, there is nobody that can really take Barbra's shoes. She still is Barbra, and so I can't say that, oh my gosh, I'm Barbra on stage. There's nobody that compares to the real Barbra, but I try.
Oh, absolutely. We get that 100%. The fact that you're even willing to do this act, again, most people wouldn't take it on because those songs are hard to sing, but of course you're a trained singer.
Yeah.
Can you give me a little Barbra impersonating? What is your best Barbra during the show, voice-wise?
All right. Well, you know what? I can, what can I do? What can I say, Chris? I can say, hello, gorgeous. I don't even say that on stage, but
The room is like butter.
yeah, you're like butter, What do you want to hear? What song do you want to hear,
That's great. Thank you so much for that.
Oh my gosh.
Let me just ask, going forward, have you ever heard anything from Barbra's team on your act? Anyone in her camp?
Wow. So, Chris, just recently, so Barbra's birthday is April 24th,
Absolutely. Yep. Put the song, the vibe on vibe.
It's the song.
Yeah.
And my social media, she's my assistant, my manager, Natalie, she just does so much for me.
She's great.
She's so great. And she did a post, with me and Barbra together, and she posted it and said, happy birthday, Barbra, and how much of an honor it is that I get to tribute her. And Barbra wrote back. Barbra wrote back and said, thank you, Sharon. I was floored. So,
Wow, that's great from her social media team. That is so phenomenal. That is
yep.
so phenomenal. We're going to have to send this interview along to her team as well. I mean, seriously, we'll have to do that.
Oh my gosh.
You know, we just had on the great Stephanie Powers from Heart to Heart fame with with Robert Wagner and all that great stuff. So, you know, just we love all this kind of stuff. But I'll definitely send this along too. That's so phenomenal. I'm so
Sure.
glad you got that acknowledgement, though. That is so well deserved.
Yes, yes.
But the
Oh gosh.
reality of what it comes down to is you're the tribute artist, you're the person who's really continuing to spread Barbara's legacy on a live entertainment scale right now. Again, I've never heard of, I'm sure there's others out there, but I've never heard of any other Barbra Streisand tribute artists.
You know, there's a few out there. There's a few out there, but you know, something that I feel like I do is I don't copy, I don't listen to every single line that she's ever done. In fact, the fans know more about Barbara than I do. I don't like know, well, that's not true. I do know she likes coffee ice cream, so that's not true. I just don't know personal things about her. You know, I don't dig into that. I'm studying her like a character. So, you know, I don't know if the other tribute artists, they kind of overdo it a little bit. You know, they kind of maybe go a little overboard. And I try not to do that.
What have you learned about yourself on this journey that we haven't already spoken about?
Oh boy. You know, something that is I've known this about myself for a long time, but sometimes it hits me. I had stage fright, a lot like Barbara, but that is as Sharon. So take the wig off, take all that off. And I have stage fright as Sharon. But when I put this persona, I have no fear. It's because I'm hiding behind this character. So that is something I've learned about myself that I wish I didn't have that stage fright as Sharon, but I've done Barbara for so long that I put the wig on and people are like, "Aren't you nervous?" I'm like, "No, I'm not nervous."
You know, the reality of what it comes down to is that, you know, I think that, again, a lot of people have performing arts ambitions.
Yeah.
And then some of the lucky few, and they are the lucky few, like you, end up in the tribute artist category, and they get to have a whole life, and you get to travel the world, and you still get to experience all those things that original performers get to experience, but you get to experience those things as well. I mean, so the thing is, again, there's just no limit to this, which I think is wonderful. Again, I wish everybody could achieve their performance art dreams, but if not,
Right.
this is a great secondary thing, in my opinion.
Right. You're right, Chris. You know, even this showroom at Alexis Park, it is still, it's not like everybody can just put together a show and they're allowed to, you know, get booked in a room.
Getting more difficult than ever in Las Vegas.
Yes,
For a lot of
getting
acts,
more
by
and
the
more
way.
difficult. So, you know, you really have to have something to offer. You can't just think it's just going to magically happen. So I do know what you mean. I am about other entertainers trying to achieve their goals, but it's definitely a lot of work, more work than you would realize.
Well, there are probably about 50 or 60 every night in Las Vegas live entertainment acts going on. And a lot of people may think that's a lot, but you're only talking about, you know, a couple hundred people. So it's like, you know, you are one of 50 shows every night in the entertainment capital of the world. It's like, you know, that is an amazing accomplishment in itself, and you should be proud of that. So in closing, how long is the show? How many songs do you sing? Give us a little bit of an overview.
Okay. The show runs about an hour 15. hour 20, depending on how many people are hollering out, requests. I do take you through time. So I will, I will do some 60s, I will do some 70s and some disco, and then Guilty, Woman in Love, all those songs that you really don't get to hear that often. Stony End, and then I touch on some of the Broadway, which I love very much. And then, of course, a tribute to my own father in Yentl. So it's a great show. I love my little show.
It's not a little show. It's a Las Vegas show. It's not a little show. What's the website where everybody can find you and learn more about the show and how to get tickets? What's your website?
Okay. There's a few websites out there. My website is SharonOwens.com.
And that's where, and there are links, I believe, on there to go get the tickets.
And there are links. There is another one. Barbra, you have to spell Barbra correctly. BARBRA. BarbraVegas.com. And that was set up just for me here in Las Vegas. So I'm very proud of that as well.
Go to BarbraVegas.com to learn more information about the show. Again, Alexis Resort and Casino, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 5 p.m. You'll see Sharon Owens tributing the great Barbra Streisand. Sharon, thanks so much for being on CY Interview Day. Finally, talk about the look of becoming Barbra and what that has been. This is like a timeless look, right? From like the 90s, early 2000s, right?
You've got it, Chris. Oh my gosh, that is so, you must be, you follow your artists. Yeah, this is like the 90s, her comeback. The 90s and the 2000 with, the definite. And I've tried other looks, but you know what? This is classic and it's my favorite. So this is it.
Thank you, Sharon. Again, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 p.m. Alexis Resort and Casino. See Sharon Owens tributing Barbra Streisand and singing the great hits from the funny girl herself. Sharon, thanks so much for being on CY Interview Day. We really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you so much for having me.